Hi, thanks everyone for joining us today. My name is Tomas Jonsson. I'm the curator of performance and moving image at Dunlop Art Gallery and RPL Film Theatre. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm located here at Oskanaka, also known as Pile of Bones, also known as Regina, which is located on Treaty 4 territory, the traditional territory of the Nehiyawak, Saulteaux, Lakota, Dakota, Nakota, and the homeland of the Métis. And it's my pleasure to welcome you here to this discussion as part of Ask a Curator Day, along with Wendy Peart and Elian Mikkola. So Ask a Curator Day started in 2010 as an effort to harness Twitter's networking power to drum up some direct engagement with curators from across the globe. It was the brainchild of Jim Richardson, founder of Museum Next, a conference on the future of museums. And the idea was that a curious public would be able to question the keepers of cultural heritage about the objects in their care and what it is they do with them. And as part of this discussion today, I'd like to invite all our viewers to contribute to this dialogue via the chat on the right of the screen, and we'll have an opportunity to bring questions to our guests. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our presenters. So myself, I'm Tomas from Mokinstis, Calgary Treaty 7 territory, before moving to Treaty 4 in Regina. I worked for a number of arts organizations and public institutions, including the Calgary Public Library and the Calgary Public Art Program. Also joining us is Wendy Peart. And for over 10 years, Wendy has worked at the Dunlop Art Gallery as the curator of education and community outreach. She received her BFA and BA from the University of Regina and an MFA from the University of Victoria. She's a practicing artist with interests in environment and social conditioning. And Elian Mikkola is a Finnish moving image artist of Carolinian descent and white settler currently based between Treaty 4, Regina, and Montreal. Tuktakle, sorry, Elian, Canada. Originally from Turku, Finland, Mikkola holds a BA in journalism from Tampere University. They completed their MFA in media production in 2019 at the University of Regina. Mikkola is also part of La Lumiere Collective based in Montreal and a current board member of Queer City Cinema. And as part of the upcoming Queer City Cinema, Mikkola has curated a series of short films which is screening this Friday at 7:30 at RPL Film Theatre. So I'd like to begin the discussion to both Wendy and Elian with this question. Why did you become a curator?
Wendy, do you want to go first?
I can, sure. Why it just happened. As I mentioned in my biography, I was a practicing artist. I was a sessional lecturer. I had another job teaching in the public schools here in Regina. I had another job teaching at the Arts Community Center here in Regina, and it was just sort of a side thing. I took up a guest curator position, and I thought, wow, I really enjoyed that, and I kind of just slid into this role here as curator of education and outreach. With my arts background as a creator, and then with my teaching background, as well as having some experience as a curator, this particular role was kind of perfect for me, and I haven't looked back. So that's why, I guess. So now I'm gonna share it off to you, Elian, and see what you have to say.
Yeah, I guess I'm the newest in this curation game. I would say, call myself maybe now like a starting part-time curator and still a filmmaker first, but I guess working in the experimental field of cinema really kind of exposes you to a different type of body of work that maybe differs from the mainstream quite a bit. So it kind of raises my curiosity to learn more and see more work, and that kind of alongside comes then with, oh, well, where can I show this work, and like, is there a place or a venue that I could put a program together and show the work that has inspired me. So yeah, the Queer City Cinema program is a good example of one of my first programs as a curator, and hopefully more to come. Should I maybe raise a next question to you two? Yeah, we kind of put some questions down that maybe we would like to explore today. So maybe like as a beginner in this field, I would like to hear from you two that maybe like what part of your job has surprised you the most thus far?
Thomas, you go first.
Sure. I was actually thinking about that I think a lot of things surprise me, and I think that's a quality I really like to try and maintain, because partly it goes against any sort of internal bias I might have about how things ought to go. Yeah, maybe just, I guess, in the conditions in which a show comes together, or the ways in which an artist chooses to work. I think I've really privileged those aspects where it's something that I might not have considered, and it's a chance for me to, I guess, follow along, and rather than to be able to anticipate everything that's happening. I'm really looking for that. So.
And for me, I guess, because Dunlop Art Gallery is positioned as an integrated unit of the Regina Public Library, what surprised me as I started my role here was how amazing it is to work for a library, and how it challenges me to think about my role in a broader perspective, and it challenges me on a strategic level. Thinking about my community and really putting an emphasis on community and being welcoming and being diverse and being, embracing all the people and trying to do my work such that that community is kind of like really at the focus. I think sometimes in the art world, it can be kind of a very siloed job where we're thinking a lot about artists, which is super important. And our own community, our artistic community, but being a part of the library challenges me to be more open to a broader community, and that surprised me, and also makes me really happy, and really makes me love my job more. Okay, is this how we're doing it? Okay, so do we?
No, that's cool. That's great to hear.
I think this is working out now, like how we're just shifting. So maybe I'll ask the next question to the two of you. Okay. So I'm just gonna. This is great because I'm gonna ask the two more film knowledgeable people. What is your favorite film from a visual perspective? And what is your favorite film from a social equity perspective?
Well, I can take this first. I think I got a peek to this question a little bit earlier, so I got the chance to think about it, because it's actually really hard to find one film to answer with. But I just picked kind of two interesting examples of my most recent discoveries. So for the visual perspective, I would like to pick Rosa Barba's Aggregate States of Matter, which I saw in International Film Festival Rotterdam a couple of years ago now. And that's just like a great example of an analog film that kind of plays with text in a visual way that really kind of stuck with me. This one picture where like a text takes over the image and kind of pulses through the visual, other visuals of the film. So that was something that impacted me. Rosa Barba's work otherwise too is something that I always like visually look, just always wait for the next things that she does. And then social equity perspective, I think one of the most interesting narrative films that I've seen recently is Mati Diop's Atlantics, which presented this social equity perspective in a very interesting way. It's a totally different view that we've seen in a social justice issue, it's usually shown in a very like Western colonial way, and this film really kind of challenges that perspective. And I also just love good narrative films that totally kind of mix your expectations, and this really did that. So those are my two picks.
Those look good. I'm going to have to check those out. Yeah, just thinking about Beau Travail is one that comes to mind for me in terms of aesthetics, and it's a Claire Denis film. It's a retelling of Billy Budd, so the Herman Melville story, but set in, I think it's in Algeria, and it's the French Foreign Legion, two members of that engage in this conflict. But the film itself is just really poetic and beautiful, and I saw a talk a while back with Guy Madden, and he was being interviewed in a similar way to this as we're talking right now, and they would show different clips from different movies, and one of the questions was, how do you want to die? And so he showed the last few minutes of this film, and I won't spoil it, but watch that film and you'll see.
Okay.
I think it's great. In terms of social equity, the Battle of Orgreaves, yeah, there's the clip from Beau Travail there. Yeah, just really hypnotic and stunning visuals in it. Like, it's just a lot of these motions of them training, and yeah. The Battle of Orgreaves by Jeremy Deller is one that I think about in terms of social equity. So he staged a reenactment of this battle, and it was a miners' strike in the 80s. And it was one of the first acts by Thatcher, the prime minister at the time, to put that strike down, and so it was quite a brutal police engagement with that. So he recreated this battle in the same way that you'd see these sort of battle recreations of the Civil War and what have you. But he had the miners playing themselves, but he also had the miners playing the police. And the film is this documentary about that moment. And there's this really nice scene where the strike's about to happen, and you just see Jeremy Deller walking, and he's holding the camera to himself, and he's like, says, "I'm not in control of this anymore. It's just happening." And I think it's just a really interesting moment of putting these people into the different positions and playing it out in a real physical sense. Okay, let's see. Next question. Okay, here's one. What's the role of, I guess we'll say, the museum or your institution in 2021? That's it. So we'll change the year. It says 2020, but let's look a bit further.
Should I go first?
I think
I know.
you should take this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our role has been to roll with it. Our role has been to support artists, support our community by finding new and different ways of presenting art, presenting events, and sharing perspectives, and learning from it. That's been our role. It's just to roll with it and be flexible and be as understanding and caring and empathetic as possible. And to ourselves, I don't know. It's like it seems to have been a year kind of dedicated to care and work at the same time, like pulling back, but also very much a leaning in at the same time, which has been really, really interesting. So I'm going to stop there because I could go on for a long time, but I know Elian probably has some really interesting things to say.
Well,
Sorry, am I saying it wrong?
yeah.
Is it Elian? Can I just be clear? Is it Elian or Elian?
You can choose.
Really?
I'm very
Really?
fluid. I'm very
You're
fluid.
fluid that way, okay.
Whichever is fine. Yeah, I think I come from a different perspective since I'm not representing a museum or institution per se, but how I see it is that, well, talking about fluidity, remaining in a fluid state, I think is important for any institution that is there to exhibit work or promote work or find out and seek new work. So I think listening to the community's needs and the shifts that happen within is really important for any type of cultural institution. And then support also, I think local support is important, especially in places like Treaty 4 and maybe not like the biggest cities and centers. So I think those are both like just important things that I appreciate when I see in institutions the ways that they work. Yeah. Okay, I think it's my turn. Is it my turn again? Maybe we should switch things up a little bit. Oh yeah, I think I would like to actually ask, this was a question that was something that I found an answer, but I wasn't satisfied with it. So I'm super curious to hear your take on this. We'll go away from the film world, but since it was there, which object would you use to explain humanity to aliens?
Thomas, you go ahead.
I guess in a way I could think of this one. This is a piece of art that I have by Franz Lotz from Regina. So rocket ship. So I would maybe just use it to explain that we often have these ideas come to us from a very early age of trying to thinking about visiting new places, new experiences, and so assuming the visitors come for similar reasons, we might have this as a good point of connection. This is something that as a kid I would sit in for hours and imagine
I love
visiting
that.
aliens.
Yeah, I would be in there too. You'd catch me in there climbing and jumping off of it.
Yeah.
I have thought about this question a bit, and because I find it actually speaks to the idea of how art speaks. Because art, living in a postmodern world, are we still in postmodernism? I think we are. We know that art can't speak to all the people in the exact same way. So I questioned, how could we speak to aliens if we can't even speak to two people the exact same way through art? And that's the beauty of it, is that it is so different for every single individual person. But if I had to choose, I'm going to choose. And again, I'm going to refer back to that work by Anish Kapoor that's synonymous with Chicago landscape, which is the Cloud Gate public sculpture of that stainless steel inverted bean-shaped object. With when you climb under this inverted bean, you go and there's a tunnel that like it's all so highly polished that the cone that's on the inside of this work of art, when you look up into it, kind of addresses this idea of infinity. But on the outside, when you're standing outside this being, all it does is reflect you and your surroundings. And again, it speaks to, sort of our current sort of obsession with ourselves and our own reflection and our own situation and sort of this moment in time. But as an object, it also speaks to everything around it as it reflects everything. And it connects to the sky, it connects to the universe, it connects to this intangible existential idea of infinity. And I thought, to me, that work is kind of like a portal to the unknown. So that's the work. And I've had some time to think about this one. I didn't just pull that one out of the hat. I've thought about this work a lot over the years. I have seen it in person, which was weird because there's so many people around and you're having a moment. But yeah, that's the answer.
I'm glad I asked the question. Your answers were way better than mine.
Now I want to know what yours is.
Yeah, do you have
That
an
remains
answer?
a secret.
Oh, it's a secret. Okay. Whose turn is it to ask a question?
I see there's one in the audience. I don't know if
Oh, okay.
we want to take an audience question.
I actually do want to take an audience question. Ooh.
I can answer this one. To stop time, of course. If we could just have a bit more time.
A little more time. I don't know if I can top that answer, actually.
I think I have one. I think teleporting. To see just like in an environmentally friendly way all the things that are happening around the world, like more cozy private events and just, you know, explorations through the world without ruining it.
Yeah. I also came up with an answer now you made me think of this answer, but to have a fantastic memory. I guess the one thing that always I admired about my mentors, such as Lisa Streifler or some of the other teachers I've had, has been their ability to just kind of pull all these artists' names. Blair Fornwald was like that too. She could just go boom, and she had all these names and the images and bonk right there in front of her. And I feel like I struggle with that memory process. I can feel and sense and always retain a memory of an object in my body, but I don't always have it in my mind or the name. It takes me a little while. So I wish I had more memory, better storage.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Name dropping as a superpower.
Yeah, I think if I could remember the people's names as I meet them and come to them, that'd be great. It doesn't even have to be a superpower. It can just be
Just be a regular one.
just a regular thing would be nice.
Oh gosh, yes. Okay.
I see a question if Zoom is teleporting, and I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I was going more into like actually the opposite of Zoom, that you could actually be an experience in person again, obviously in a different time and space, but yeah. I think Zoom is teleporting in a way though, like for sure it's connected us with the different communities a totally different way than before, so you're not wrong.
Yeah. And I'm really curious to see how artists are going to be harnessing this outside of, or hopefully some point outside of this pandemic. Is there going to be other formats, other platforms that are artists, and they will, because they just will, they'll be able to harness this and do something really, really great, I think. Anyway, I'm going to ask another question if we don't have one from the audience, and I'm going to ask it, I think this is probably something everyone's thought about. It's a simple question, but if you could meet any artist, dead or alive, who would that be and why?
Well, I thought about it, and it came there were a few options, but I think this is a mystery that I want to solve, and there would only be one way to solve it. I would probably pick Elisaveta Svilova, who was an editor for a man with a movie camera. And it's just such a classic film and used in so many ways to it just served as a starting point for experimental editing techniques and something I'm very, very passionate about. So, but the history never really gave Elisaveta Svilova, who was the assisting editor of the film, really the credit for the work that, I love the tiny picture, really didn't credit her for the work in the way that probably she should have been credited for it. So it's something that I would really want to sit and have a pint with Elisaveta and get to the core of the question: how was the process of editing this film? What was her input and workload in coming up with all these creative techniques, and really get to the core of that question. That would be why I would pick her.
So this is a tricky question for me because I'm typically pretty shy and get awestruck easily. So I'm not sure if I'd want to meet anyone because it would be a pretty nerve-wracking experience for me. I could think of somebody like Werner Herzog. I think would be cool. I've known some people that have met him, and he's just sounds like a hilarious person. And I think I would just like to be, I don't know if I'd like to meet him, but I'd like to be in the room with him, watching him meet other people and discuss. I love those scenes where he's filming and if somebody's talking, they'll just pause like this, and you'll just kind of let that awkwardness go. And I'm a huge fan of awkwardness, so I think I would eat that up. Actually, yeah, I'll say if he could film me, I'd love to watch that film.
I would too.
Yeah.
Well, do we have time for another question, or we're kind of getting we're almost at our time? But what do you guys think?
Ooh, I have one last. I'll jump from aliens to zombies, and we'll end with the question about. Wait, I'll have to. Okay, zombies attack. Which gallery object or work tool do you use to fight them?
Okay, well, I do have an image for this answer, actually. So if Eric can find it. Because, when we're in the gallery and we're working around art and, we're handling the art and we have got one tool. Main tool is our white gloves. We wear our white gloves. So when you open up that crate and you don't really know what's going to be inside, but suddenly a zombie kind of pops out of it, what I would do is take my gloves and just pull them off and just do one of these. Just smack on the face. And that will chase it away. I know it will.
You have a lot of faith in the white gloves. Thomas, how about you?
I'm going to pull from my performance art toolkit. I took a workshop with Victoria Stanton from Montreal, and we spent a few days practicing being available and being unavailable psychically. So I would just be unavailable.
That's a great answer.
I'll say the same thing. You have a lot of faith too.
Yeah. I mean, being a zombie is not the worst, I think.
I think just like the gallery door, there's always a glass door in a gallery. Just rip that away and run with that and hope for the best.
Yeah, we've got those. Yeah, we could do it.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun. I really had a good time chatting with you both tonight, or today. Sorry, it's not tonight, depending on when you're watching this. But so I just want to thank everybody for joining us here today to listen to what we have to say. Just so you guys know, curators are not fancy people that always wear black, and that we're not silly or sometimes we can be a little stuck up. No, we are generally very approachable people, and we do like to have a good time as well. But I'd like to thank everyone for joining us, and I also want to just remind everyone about our events at Dunlop Art Gallery that are coming up, including Elian's curated films as a part of Queer City Cinema. So Queer City Cinema is going to be coming to the Dunlop Art Gallery this weekend with events both on Friday and Saturday night in the film theater and in the galleries. So come and check it out. And then again, I want to really highlight that we will be having our first in-person reception and artist talk next Friday night as a part of Gary Vero's curated exhibition called Projections with Leuli Ashrangi and Jessica Garahunga. And it'll be next Friday, September 24th, 7 p.m., starting with the artist talk in the film theater. If you're unable to join us in the film theater, this talk will also be streamed live on Dunlop's Facebook and YouTube channels. So please check it out. But we would really like to see you in person, ideally, is what we really want to do. So thank you all again for joining us, and I hope you all have a great Ask a Curator Day.